Yeah, good. Okay. All right, everybody. I am Dr. Michael Fitzmaurice with the RHT Experts, and today we're going to be talking with Richard Valentine, who's a background in EMS ground support and has identified some really some critical issues in his region and has some ways of solving these problems with hopefully obtaining these RHTP funds to help his community. So, Richard, yeah, if you wouldn't mind kind of describing a little bit more, first of all, about your background that you have in this field.
Yeah, so I have been a paramedic for 15 years. I have several years in critical care and flight EMS, so not only ground, but air as well. So I'm familiar with both operations. I understand the uniqueness of the flight side of things, but I also understand the uniqueness of the ground transport side. Catch Rapid Care Ambulance is something that I created because there has been a need, there is a desire, there is a focused need for patient care to be continually delivered across the peninsula to Anchorage area hospitals. The Kenai Peninsula is set in between Kachemak Bay and Alaska's Turnagain Arm. There's two large mountain ranges that separates the Kenai Peninsula from Anchorage. Right now, currently, the only way that patients have the ability to be transported is via helicopter or by fixed-wing aircraft from one of two of our local airports in Soldotna or Kenai. These are amazing resources and have been very well established in our area for a long period of time. However, because of the uniqueness of where we're located in between those mountain ranges, we have a lot of issues with fog, wind, and in the wintertime we have heavy snow. And with the limitations that these aircraft and helicopters have, it prevents patients from being able to be transferred from these local hospitals. A lot of these hospitals are like level 4 trauma centers where they're really just to kind of stabilize and prepare for transport to a larger hospital that has more significant level of care, which are our Anchorage hospitals like Providence, Alaska Native Medical Center, and Alaska Regional Hospital. What we have found is talking with the community and living and growing up in the community and going to high school in Homer is there is a huge I guess a fallback of we're realizing now that these patients and the care may actually be being affected by not having the ability to be transported when they need to be transported, regardless of the weather conditions of where we are. Our agency that we've started from the ground zero up to where we are now is giving us the opportunity to closely integrate with our local hospitals and provide us with absolute definitive care, not only for patients, but for families as well, where these families will know that their treatment is going to be continued in the fastest way possible. If they can't fly, they're going by ground, and we're going to take care of their every need along the way. So I personally have had a family member who was affected and ended up having a stroke several months back. And it just happened to be during a snowstorm that it occurred. And she ended up having 3 additional strokes. On top of that, now has right-sided permanent deficits that were unresolved. That kind of sparked my passion to move this forward as quickly as I possibly can. Not only because it hits home, but because this is not the only patient that this has ever happened to. I'm sure if we were to seek and look out at all that data, we would see that there's more patients who maybe had either bad outcomes or maybe just had a significant delay that getting them there sooner may have changed the risk for them. And that's what I'm here to do. I want to closely integrate with these hospitals and with our community to make these things happen.
Yeah, I know a personal experience. I had a lot of surgical trauma, surgery, critical care experience at a level 1. And when we were getting these patients from these outside hospitals, I mean, time was of the essence. So I can only imagine any delay would impact their care. But with that weather, this is happening quite often then, isn't it?
We have it quite often. If it's not weather related, it could just be as much as aircraft down for maintenance. You know, everybody who goes into the hospital has to be transferred to Anchorage. It's like, oh man, is there a helicopter available? Is there going to be, that service available? And I don't want any single person or family on the entire Kenai Peninsula to ever be concerned about, is my family member going to be able to get to Anchorage in time for something critical to happen? I want them to have that comfort and that peace of mind that if they don't go by air, that's okay. They're going with us by ground, and we're going to get them there regardless. So weather's not always a factor, but it could just be maintenance-related things or just not availability.
Because also my understanding was if aircraft wasn't available, the only other way of getting ground would be to have a ground transport travel from the other location to yours and then back. So they're adding another 4 hours. I mean, when time is so
Yeah.
critical, that's really not a good solution either. You have to have something based
Right.
in your community.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Efficiency is important, especially for us. Not only do we have long roads, and it's desolate in some areas where there isn't other help available, but our agency gives even more ability. We're able to do wildfire standbys for medical, which is required on large extended fires. We're able to provide more to our community. These RHTP funds are going to be able to help us get instructors in our agency that are able to teach locally. Right now, we only have one school that can teach EMT through paramedic, and that's our Kenai Peninsula Community College. These people have no other way of getting educated. So we can not only expand, but offer more job opportunities for the peninsula. And we can reach out and do some specialty thing like with our fisheries, providing, potentially early antibiotic treatments for injuries, part of transport for the fisheries, which seem to be a huge delay, is getting someone from way out in the ocean in Kachemak Bay all the way to land and then transporting. We're a benefit to the hospitals because we're not only able to clear their facility and get those patients where they need to go, but we're also able to take them home if they need to. We're able to allow the patient in the hospital to make more cost-effective decisions. It's not always cost-effective to fly somebody. Someone that has abnormal labs doesn't necessarily need to fly by air. They could potentially really go by ground. Obviously, our air providers are super valuable, super important. We're not coming in to take any place of them because they have a very valuable place. But we're here to work in conjunction alongside them because it's not always necessary to go by air. And so we're
Right.
really bridging a much-needed gap.
So really it's improving both patient outcomes and financially when you don't need to waste resources unnecessarily.
Absolutely.
And the other thing you pointed on was very important to hear. This isn't just about transport. You're looking at developing a workforce pipeline of educating people to engage in this as you grow, providing resources. Then is that correct? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you plan on starting, and what is your ultimate goal long term?
Well, the goal is to expand to all the areas that are needed throughout the peninsula. There's several options and things that we've talked about. We've talked about maybe being like I said, a part of the fisheries. We've talked about also maybe even getting involved with some, specialty bariatric type transport stuff, which I don't think we see a lot of on the peninsula, but it's definitely it's a resource that's available. We'd like to tie in with the Alaska State Troopers and offer our services to be able to do standby for, search and rescues and things like that happen in the area or in remote places where we might be able to park alongside and keep our local fire departments in service, protecting their areas that they need to be available for, which I'm sure the taxpayers would truly enjoy. But we want to absolutely integrate and meet every one of those deficits that is in our area. These funds are so valuable. Being a private entity that is trying to meet a need without any community support at all is a challenge, and it's hard. And it's something that takes not only but a severe passion, but it takes a drive and motivation to stay moving forward and not get knocked down and disregarded or to be discouraged in any way. And we've moved very far and come very close to be starting, which we plan to begin June 1st. And a lot of that's going to hinge and depend on these RHTP grant funds if we get those. A lot depends on how and what those funds can be used for, whether it's an open grant or whether it's very, very restricted as far as what we can do. I have a lot of wonderful ideas on some specialized equipment that we could purchase and use if that's a possibility with these funds. If it's not, then we figure something else out. But ultimately, right now, we're starting with one ambulance that is advanced life support certified. We will ultimately then move into getting a second one very quickly. We want to make sure that we have a backup or a second primary and continue to grow. So we're going to need a couple more ambulances. I don't think the peninsula is going to grow into maybe having any more than 4 ambulances at one time. I know Seward has a huge desire to have us be a part of their community, and I want to serve that community closely. There's a lot of need there. Fisheries there as well. But it's also a very seasonally populated place. So it's important that we meet those needs and take some of that workload off those local EMS agencies to be able to provide care. So there is so much that we can move into as we continue to identify additional needs, partnerships, maybe even as much as doing patient handoffs. Moose Pass, Alaska is very remote. They sometimes have EMS providers and ambulance available, and sometimes they don't. It would be really nice to be able to meet them at the scene and maybe take that patient for them and continue that patient on to Anchorage. So maybe even being a part of a secondary service 911 type ambulance when everybody's resources are taxed, especially in the summertime when we could have well over 1 million people in our small city at one time. I think that we can take a lot of that workload off. I think the value or need may not be seen as much quite yet because it's just brand new. It's just getting out there. But I think that this is going to be something that's going to explode into amazing opportunities for our community to be a part of. And what we will be able to give back is going to be huge.
Well, it could be too that some people may not realize that these issues are even there. So that's why this is good educational material. And then just before we wrap up too, I want to make sure there may be communities or people within the community hearing this and realize, wait, I want to get in contact with him. I think we need to partner up because there are certain needs we have that he will be able to resolve. So
Absolutely.
What would be a good way for people to contact you if they hear this?
Yeah, so we have a couple ways. My phone number is listed on our website at www.krcems.com. It offers ways of contact through email, or they can contact me directly at richard.valentine@krcems.com as well, or our local contact page on social media websites like Facebook. Any one of those, I'm very responsive. I'm absolutely able to respond and give any information. And if someone's interested in partnering in any way, shape, or form, we will absolutely try to meet every one of those needs. And I don't see any reason why we can't meet that obligation.
Yeah, because this may help for, this is just the first year funding. And even if you get something started, you have big expansion plans. So additional partnership may help out for these next phases that are coming along. So this is very important for everybody in your region to understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome.
We're excited.
Yeah, well, yeah, you should be. I mean, it's going to provide a great service that's definitely needed. I'm well aware of being in the medical field, what the impact can be, but I don't know if some people realize that this is happening. So this is very useful information for everybody to understand. So yeah, let's hope that everything gets worked out and we can get as much the funding as possible. And even if it's a start, like I said, prepare the way for additional phases coming along. So
yeah, that sounds great.
Great. All right, Richard. Well, awesome talking to you. Good luck with everything. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Fitzmaurice. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.